So someday, my dear STEM Brilliant learners, welcome to another episode for Quarter 3 here in Senior High Tech TV. I'm so glad that you're all safe and ready for another learning journey today. I am Teacher Ernest, and together, let us discover life in the exciting world of biology. If you are ready to learn, please behave, listen, and take note of the important concepts of our lesson for today.
It's trivia time!
What was the first life on Earth? In July 2018, scientists reported that the earliest life on land may have been bacteria in 3.22 billion years ago. In May 2017, evidence of microbial life on land may have been found in 3.48 billion-year-old Geologic in the Pilbara Craton of Western Australia. Are you excited for another amazing biological science adventure? Let's start! Before we start, let's play a game entitled Fact or Bluff. Here are the mechanics of the game. I will show you a statement. If the statement is correct, the answer is fact. If the statement is wrong, the answer is bluff. You are given 5 seconds to answer. Type it down in the comment section below. Are you ready? Let's go! Number 1. Fossils are our best form of evidence about Earth history, including the history of life. Is it a fact or a bluff? You're right. The answer is fact. Number 2. About 1.9 million years ago, Homo habilis evolved. Is it a fact or a bluff? You're right. The answer is bluff. The correct answer is Homo erectus. This human ancestor not only walked fully upright, but had much larger brains than Homo habilis, nearly twice as large on average. Number 3. The early Earth is loosely defined as Earth in its first 1 billion years, or giga-year. Is it a fact or a bluff? If your answer is fact, then you are correct. Number 4. The oldest single living thing on the planet is a mango tree, clinging to rocky soil on the White Mountains of California. Is it a fact or a bluff? You're right. The answer is bluff. The correct answer is gnarl tree. This Great Basin bristlecone pine, or Pinus longeva, has withstood harsh winds, freezing temperatures, and sparse rainfall for more than 5,000 years. Number 5. Berger studies barnacles which have been on the planet for about 500 million years. Is it a fact or a bluff? Precisely! The correct answer is fact. Let us discuss this further, so stay focused and don't go away.
Our lesson for today is all about history of life on Earth. And for the learning competency, describe general features of the history of life on Earth, including generally accepted dates and sequence of the geologic time scale and characteristics of major groups of organisms present during these time periods. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to differentiate relative and absolute dating, define geologic time scale, and describe the events during Precambrian time, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic Era.
The Earth was born approximately 4.6 billion years ago, and life first appeared about 4 billion years ago. With this duration of time, it's really hard to understand how Earth was formed and life first appeared on its surface. If we think of Earth's history as a 24-hour day, humans would have appeared only during the last minute of the day. If we are such newcomers on this planet Earth, how do we know about the vast period of time that went before us? How have you learned about the distant past? To know about the past, we study the remains of things that existed during that time. One way of studying the Earth's history and its life is by studying the fossils. Fossils are the preserved remains or traces of organisms that lived in the past. How could these fossils tell us about the past? These remains are dated in two ways: the relative and the absolute dating.
Relative dating determines which of two fossils is older or younger than the other, but not their age in years. This is based on the position of fossils in rock layers. Lower layers laid down earlier, so they are assumed to contain older fossils by CK12 in 2016. While absolute dating determines about how long ago a fossil organism lived, this gives the fossil an approximate age in years. Absolute dating is often based in the amount of carbon-14 or other radioactive element that remains in a fossil by CK12 in 2016.
Another tool for understanding the history of Earth and its life is the geologic time scale. By studying the Earth's geological timeline, we will be able to trace the processes by which fossils were formed and how living organisms have evolved since the time that life started until the present day. Scientists developed the time scale by studying the rock layers and fossils worldwide. Radioactive dating is used to determine the absolute divisions in the time scale. The geologic time scale divides Earth's geologic history into intervals of time defined by major events or changes on Earth. The largest unit of geologic time is an eon. The Earth's 4.6 billion year history is divided into 4 eons.
The Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic, and Phanerozoic. These eons together are called Precambrian Time. Precambrian time makes up almost 90% of Earth's history. Eons may be divided into smaller units of time called eras. The Phanerozoic Eon, the present eon, is divided into 3 eras: the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Each era is subdivided into a number of periods. The periods of the Cenozoic, the present era, are further divided into epochs.
What were some defining events of Precambrian time?
Number 1. Precambrian time began with the formation of Earth about 4.6 billion years ago. Number 2, massive supercontinents. The first oceans and the early atmosphere formed during this time. Number 3, toward the end of Precambrian time, much of Earth's land surfaces were located near the poles and covered in ice.
What were some defining events of the Paleozoic Era?
Number 1. The Paleozoic Era began about 540 million years ago. The supercontinent Pannotia was breaking up and the supercontinent Pangaea began forming. Number 2. Life diversified quickly and dramatically during the Cambrian explosion, during which most major groups of organisms first evolved. Number 3. The era ended about 250 million years ago with a huge mass extinction event. And number 4. During the Cambrian explosion, new species evolved rapidly in Earth's shallow seas.
What were some defining events of the Mesozoic Era?
Number 1. During the Mesozoic Era, which began about 250 million years ago, Pangaea began breaking up. Number 2. The Atlantic Ocean began to open up. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge formed. Sea levels rose, and shallow seas covered much of the land. Number 3. Along the western edge of North America, tectonic activity began to fold Earth's crust, forming mountains. The climate was likely warm, as periods of heavy volcanism added carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Number 4. Life during the Mesozoic was dominated by dinosaurs. The few mammals were very small. And number 5, a mass extinction event about 65 million years ago marked the end of the era and the end of dinosaurs.
And what were some defining events of Cenozoic Era?
Number 1. The Cenozoic Era began about 65 million years ago with the Cretaceous mass extinction and continues to the present. Number 2. Greenland is split apart from North America and Europe, and the continents assumed their current positions. Number 3. The Indian subcontinent collided with Eurasia to form the Himalayas. The collision of Africa and Europe resulted in the Alps. Number 4. The Cenozoic Era is divided into two periods, the Tertiary and the Quaternary. The latter stretches from about 2.6 million years ago to the present. Number 5. The Quaternary have been characterized by an ice age, with much of Europe, North America, and Asia having been covered in thick sheets of ice. And number 6, the evolution of modern humans occurred during the late Quaternary.
Now, we have already discovered the history of life on Earth. If you really understood our lesson, let us process your understanding by answering this multiple choice activity. Choose the correct answer from each question. Bring out your pen and quiz notebook and let's begin. Are you ready?
Number 1. Which of the following processes determines how long ago a fossil organism lived? Letter A. Absolute dating. Letter B. Fossil dating. Letter C. Geologic time. And letter D. Relative dating. Absolutely. The correct answer is letter A. Absolute dating. Number 2. The largest unit of geologic time is called blank. Letter A. Epoch. Letter B. Eon. Letter C, Era. And letter D, period. Very good. The correct answer is letter B, Eon. Number 3. What era when Atlantic Ocean began to open up, the mid-Atlantic ridge formed, sea levels rose, and shallow seas covered much of the land? Letter A, Cenozoic Era. Letter B, Mesozoic Era. Letter C, Paleozoic Era. And letter D, Precambrian Time. The correct answer is letter B, Mesozoic Era. Number 4. What are the life forms during Cenozoic Era? Letter A, first insects. Letter B, first turtles. Letter C, first monkeys. And letter D, first fossil of bacteria. Very good. The correct answer is letter C, first monkeys. Number 5. What event when the oldest lungfish fossils was found? Letter A, Cenozoic Era. Letter B, Mesozoic Era. Letter C, Paleozoic Era. And letter D, Precambrian Time. If your answer is letter C, Paleozoic Era, then you are correct.
To sum up, we need to understand this in terms of their causes, their rates, and their long and short-term effects. Earth history enables us to understand how changes which no human being has ever been, or if they have, they didn't record it, and to relate them to modern changes. Congratulations, my dear STEM Legend learners! I hope that you learned a lot today. Once again, I am your earnest Getic teacher saying, eagerness to learn will lead you in the fulfillment of your dreams. See you in the next episode.